Nazi fags.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome. Former Vice President Joseph Robinette Biden is about to have a press conference with the president of the Ukraine, Vladimir Zelensky. So I thought it'd be interesting to watch along. He gave some commentary. This is before, fuck the YouTube algorithm. This is not real. This is a joke. Or the reviewers. I just want to make that perfectly clear. This is a joke. But Zelensky gave comments before the president meeting with the president. What's up, Neo? What's up, Alexander?
Thank you. As I told General Austin, I have come here for a re-up of cash. I brought the coke, I brought the hookers, I brought the kickbacks. Now, where is my money? I need it to buy another yacht. Fund the war to fight against democracy. Delete the yacht part. I have dirt on all Washington politicians, and I will release unless I get my money. Do you want your sons and daughters sent to the war? Thank you. As I told...
I mean, for the first time, he told the truth. Like, can we be mad at him? Yes, the press conference is a joke. What's up, Just Cause? No, it is not real. That's why I said it was a joke for Donald Trump Jr. tweeted it out, so retweeted it, re-X'd it, whatever the hell it is. I still contend it should be expression, but anyways, nobody gives a shit about my opinion. So we're gonna go through here, and so Zelensky met with Congress, he met with Biden, he met with everybody and pled for everything. They just gave the 5-minute warning, so I'm trying to fill a little bit of time here, but this is Speaker Johnson speaking after meeting with President Zelensky. Hello.
Thank you all for being here. Just had a good meeting with President Zelensky. I reiterated to him that we stand with him and against Putin's brutal
100%.
invasion. The American people stand for freedom, and they're on the right side of this fight. I have asked the White House since the day that I was handed the gavel as Speaker for clarity.
Hey, bro.
We need a clear articulation of the strategy to allow Ukraine to win. And thus far, their responses have been insufficient. They have not provided us the clarity and the detail that we requested over and over since literally 24 hours after I was handed the gavel as Speaker of the House. And so what the Biden administration seems to be asking for is billions of additional dollars with no appropriate oversight, no clear strategy to win, and none of the answers that I think the American people are owed. I have also made very clear from day one that our first condition on any national security supplemental spending package is about our own national security first. The border is an absolute catastrophe, and this is because of the policies of this White House and this administration. We had 12,000 illegal crossings on one day last week alone, on Wednesday. We have almost now 280 known terrorists that have been apprehended at the border. None of this counts the gotaways. If you add the numbers up, it's almost 7 million people who have been encountered at the border just since President Biden took office, and at least 2 million gotaways. This is twice the population of my state of Louisiana. Fentanyl is the leading cause of death for Americans age 18 to 49 in this country.
Great for George
Fentanyl
Floyd.
Poisoning, because it's allowed over the border. We have human trafficking and all the other terrible things. In the last 3 months, October, November, December alone, we've had more illegal crossings at the border than in any entire year during the Obama administration. The American people see this, they feel it acutely, they see all the terrible societal ills that come from this, and it must be addressed. So I've made this very clear, again, from the very beginning, when I was handed the gavel. We needed clarity on what we're doing in Ukraine and how we'll have proper oversight of the spending of precious taxpayer dollars of the American citizens, and we needed a transformative change at the border. Thus far, we've gotten neither. The Senate has been MIA on this. The House passed H.R. 2 6 months ago, more than 6 months ago. It's been sitting and collecting dust on Chuck Schumer's
political
desk.
speak,
I've told him personally,
nobody cares.
I've told the
Or
National
nobody
Security
cares.
Advisor, the Secretary of State, the Secretary of Defense, that these are our conditions because these are the conditions of the American people. And we are resolute on that. It is not the House's issue right now. The issue is with the White House and the Senate. And I implore them to do their job because the time is urgent. and we do want to do the right thing here. With that,
Okay, so a whole lot of nothing, border, blah blah blah, all the GOP talking points, red meat, fired up, blah blah blah, so on and so forth. Looks like we're still waiting on Zelensky. So now that a couple more people have shown up, we'll show Vladimir talking one more time, saying his true intentions. Just because I don't think this can be out enough. I mean,
Thank you, thank you. As I told General Austin, I have come here for a re-up of cash. I brought the coke, I brought the hookers, I brought the kickbacks. Now, where is my money? I need it to buy another yacht. I mean, fund the war to fight against democracy. Delete the yacht part. I have dirt on all Washington politicians, and I will release unless I get my money. Do you want your sons and daughters sent to the war?
I mean, again, he told the truth. Can we fault him for telling the truth? And then I was trying not to interrupt. We'll see. God, they tell you when the damn thing's going to be, but then it's never when they say it's going to be. So we'll try and get through as much of this as we can, and then we'll go from there. And I'll jump in if the presser comes up. Hang on, somebody's turning to look. Nope. I'll jump in if the presser comes up, and we'll switch it over. But so this is the Democrat caucus talking about how we're so bad because we'll give more money.
Thank you all for coming. A special thanks to Senators Murray, Reid, Murphy for joining us. So this morning, Leader McConnell and I welcomed President Zelensky to the Senate, his third visit to the Capitol, in a meeting like no other. He was extremely persuasive. This is a moment we must meet. If Ukraine falls, it will be a historic, colossal tragedy. Historians will look back on this, not 2 weeks from now, but years from now, and say this was one of the turning points where Western civilization took a dramatic turn downward, where the US abandoned its ally. It's just awful. And how our Republican friends who care so much about Ukraine are not being serious about this right now is appalling to me. My Republican colleagues know very well that Ukraine's fate is inexorably linked to our national security. So if you had to pick words, the word for Republicans is they have to be serious. Serious means negotiating in good faith. We're willing to meet them in the middle. They haven't moved away from H.R. 2. Serious means not saying we're going to go home when there's an emergency. They say it's an emergency at both the border and in Ukraine. You don't go home for 3 weeks. You don't say we can put it off 3 weeks if it's an emergency. And so hopefully our words are, we're still trying. We are trying very, very hard to get this done. At 3 o'clock, there will be a meeting with Senator Lankford, Senator Sinema, and Murphy, who's here today and can talk about it, with people from the White House, Secretary Mayorkas, and top people from my office and Senator McConnell's office. And we still are
can't pass any bills if they're on vacation
at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Last night, I spoke with Speaker Johnson. As I said, I spoke with Speaker Johnson and urged him to keep the House in session a little longer to give the supplemental a chance to come together. I told him this because over the past 24 hours, I've been alarmed to see some of the same Republicans who demand action at the border because it's an emergency say that we should leave and come back 3 weeks from now, suggesting there's no urgency to act before Christmas, contradicting their own words. After months of saying the border's a crisis, that we must get something done yesterday, too many Republicans, many in the House and now a good number in the Senate, seem to prefer to go home than pass a bill. If Republicans are serious about getting something done on the border, then why are so many of them in a hurry to leave for the winter break? Has borders simply been an excuse to kill funding for Ukraine? Democrats are asking themselves that question. Right now, as all this happens, Russian state TV is running segments bragging about how wonderful it is that Republicans are abandoning Ukraine. We are still committed to finding realistic bipartisan agreements on the southern border, and I hope my Republican colleagues take to heart President Zelensky's warnings. The only people happy right now about the gridlock in Congress are Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin,
Hey, huge
who
ass.
unfortunately somehow are allies. Putin is delighting in the fact that Donald Trump's border policies are sabotaging military aid to Ukraine. I urge my Republican colleagues to show they're serious about getting a supplemental package done. Democrats are still trying. We'll continue to work with Republicans in the coming days in good faith. Now, as we work on the supplemental, we have a lot of other things to do. Later today, the Senate will move forward on the NDAA under Senator Reid's leadership, and he'll talk about it. The Senate has worked tirelessly to get it over the finish line, and I applaud my colleagues on both sides of the aisle for doing it, working together to get this done. And the bill contains many of the policies that we in the Senate passed this summer. As you know, cloture passed 82-15. So, as I said repeatedly, we begin the month of December with three major goals here in the Senate before the end of the year. First, we had to end the unprecedented and months-long blockade of hundreds of military nominees. We've done that. Second, we need to pass the NDAA, as we have for decades, on a bipartisan basis. We're on track to do that. And finally, most difficult of all, we must reach an agreement on national security supplemental. We hope our Republican colleagues are serious about getting something done there too. We're still ready to work. Senator Murray.
Well, let's cut to the chase here. We can pass a national security supplemental, and we can do it quickly. But senators need to decide if they are serious about delivering on aid to Ukraine and other critical national security priorities, or if they want to go home for the holidays and abandon our allies and deliver a massive gift to
I would
Putin.
go home for the holidays.
Democrats remain serious, and we are ready to negotiate around bipartisan border policy. But we will not entertain a partisan wish list of permanent far-right overhauls to immigration policy. Now is the time to work together. It sends a dangerous message when one
It's
half
time to
of
work
the
together
Senate
as long as we do
is
exactly
focused
what
on
we
pitting
say. Fuck
allies
the
and
other side.
crises against each other as political bargaining chips. We've talked about this at length. We simply cannot afford further delays that tell our adversaries they can just wait us out. We cannot afford half steps that tell our allies we will only stand by some of them, some of the time. So I hope Senate Republicans will choose to work with us here. And now, for those not keeping count, we are 38 days from the first government funding deadline that the Speaker set. I don't think the American people want to see food safety inspectors or air traffic controllers furloughed. But if we want to make progress on our
really care
full year
at this
funding
point.
bills, that we need Speaker Johnson to get back to the full top line spending deal that House Republicans negotiated themselves. Consider what kind of precedent it sets if now, months after
Absolutely.
a spending
Just shut it
agreement
down.
was
Fix it
negotiated
right,
and passed into
and
law,
reopen it.
3 months into this current fiscal year,
Zero.
House Republicans want to pull the rug out from the rest of us and go back on their word and the deal that they cut. Remember, House Republicans negotiated that very directly with the White House in the first place, not Democrats and not Senate Republicans. A shutdown is not an acceptable outcome. A date change, full year CR, as the Speaker has proposed, is not an acceptable outcome. We need to pass full year
Hey, what's up,
spending bills.
Vance?
That's it. So I hope the Speaker hears me loud and clear. Get back to the full deal that you cut, that you voted for, and let's do our jobs.
Okay, so just for those of you who may be joining late, we're still waiting for the Biden-Zelensky press conference. It was supposed to be at 4:15. We got the 5-minute warning about 20 minutes ago, so we're just still waiting. So hurry up and wait. Typical government. So as soon as that goes over there, I will flip it back over. We watched the House GOP Now we're watching the Democrat caucus talk about their wish list for Zelensky. So
Thank you.
Senator Reid.
This is a dangerous moment in the world. Russia is digging in for another winter in Ukraine, and the Middle East is becoming even more volatile with the
Hurry up and
conflict
wait.
between Israel
motto of the
and Hamas.
government.
China, Russia, and Iran are watching how America reacts.
Probably.
And right now, Congress has, I would say, the opportunity, but actually it's the responsibility
A
to step
Democratic
up
senator.
and show the
Gio.
world that we stand with
Democratic
our
senator.
allies and partners.
That must be
The
what it
National
is for
Defense
sure.
Authorization Act and the Emergency Supplemental are critical.
Hey,
to
Gemini
that.
over on
I am
Rumble.
encouraged by the progress that we've made in the last week to complete the NDAA. I'm glad that we will soon vote on the bill. I want to thank my colleagues on the Armed Services Committee, as well as Leader Schumer and colleagues in the House.
I didn't actually hear. It's
We
just a
have an
Democratic senator.
NDAA that makes our country safer and stronger. Let me emphasize, this is a bipartisan defense
Yeah, I know who
that
Yogi was.
addresses the long-term challenges posed by China, Russia, and other potential adversaries.
I don't know that I have either.
It provides a historic pay raise for our military members and defense civilians. And this NDA is laser focused on investing in the people, platforms, infrastructure, and technologies that will define the future. The defense bill makes important progress toward achieving our shared bipartisan goals, and I
Something's
urge
wrong
my
with his
colleagues
mouth.
to vote for it. And even as we advance the NDAA, we must also prioritize the supplemental appropriations bill. I appreciated the
It looks like it
opportunity
was put on
this morning
backwards,
to meet with
upside down.
President Zelensky along with my colleagues, and he reminded us of the urgent need to continue helping Ukraine defend itself against
Oh, definitely bargain bin
Putin's
Wolverine.
brutal
Wish.com
illegal
Wolverine.
invasion.
100%.
This is not just a wise investment, a simple sort of rule I follow. I'd rather send resources to an ally than send our young men and women to battles. And if
I
we
know,
do
it's-
not
it's
support
very
the
odd.
Ukrainians, the danger that we will be drawn into this conflict is very serious. We must act now before it's too late, and the price of inaction results in far, far steeper costs down the road. Senator Murphy, please.
Senator Murphy.
Thank you, Senator Schumer. President Zelensky's visit today underscored the stakes we are dealing with. We are making a decision about the future of the free world, plain and simple. If we don't stand by Ukraine, we give a green
When we
light
started laundering money through
for
them,
Vladimir Putin to march into
Well, our
Ukraine
politicians.
and perhaps through into Europe. We
Allegedly.
give a green light to President Xi to expedite his plans for the forceful takeover of Taiwan. The entirety of the post-World War II order falls apart. We remain seriously and deeply engaged in talks with Republicans about their demand that border policy be attached to the Israel and Ukraine funding bill. I wish we weren't at
pause it in
this.
just a minute.
I
one
wish
second.
Republicans thought that funding for Ukraine was as important
Katie.
as they have said it is. I wish that they were not demanding that we settle one of the most difficult and vexing domestic political issues in order to save Ukraine and Europe.
Oh my God, this guy is insatiably terrible to listen to. One more time for you guys just joining. President Biden and President Zelensky are meeting today. Zelensky also met with our Congress, both the House and Senate. He was scheduled for a press conference at 4:15. We are now about 35 minutes behind that. Said the 5-minute warning about 20 minutes ago, so nobody knows what the hell's going on. But eventually we'll get to the press conference live. So we've been watching other clips. We watched Representative or House Speaker Mike Johnson with the Republican side. This is the Democrats and their caucus, and then there's a couple of different ones we'll watch after that. So that's kind of where we're at.
But we remain at the table. We have put
That's always
serious
wonderful.
proposals on the table that respond to Republican concerns. And now is the time for Republicans to
did.
get
It
in
was just
closer
ours.
mode. We don't have time on our side. We are willing to meet Republicans in the middle. They have to be willing to be there as well. And so I'm glad that at today's meeting, we will have, for the first time, representatives from Senator McConnell's office involved in these talks. And I'm hopeful that we'll be able to make progress so that before Christmas, we can get this bill passed through the Senate and the House of Representatives and to the president's desk.
Okay,
Leader Schumer.
go ahead. Look, the White House has been involved. There have been 3 or 4 discussions
thing of
between the White
nightmares.
House and people, high up people in the White House, Secretary Mayorkas and Senator Langford.
Fuck
And
Chuck.
several
Fuck Chuck.
times,
Fuck
and today
Chuck.
there'll be,
Chuck.
again, people at the White House, from the White House, high-level people, the Secretary, along with my representative. I'm glad Leader McConnell, I asked him to send representatives, his representative, and our 3 senators who have been doing the negotiations. Look, we're going to keep.
Oh shit! I'm glad I checked Rumble. Dance Biker Dance sent a Rumble rant. This is to be used towards the cost of materials for scientific experiments. My wife's in the chat. Tell her, Dance, and YouTube. Try not to set anything on fire, buddy. It's appreciated, man. Thank you. And no promises.
Keep trying. We hope we can come to an agreement. We're not close there yet, mainly because the Republicans on Friday took a giant step back, put in H.R. 2, and they haven't moved enough off that yet. They know that can't pass either the Senate or the House. Yes, Manu.
Given what's happening at the border, why not agree to more restrictive asylum policies dealing with the president's parole authority in order to unlock aid to Ukraine?
The bottom line is very simple. We are willing to meet in the middle. We have moved far more away from the president's original bill than they have moved off H.R. 2, and we want to come to a deal to meet people in the middle. Everyone knows that H.R. 2 can't pass. It's a total abdication of everything. It's Trump's policies. The American people don't like Trump's policies. Yes.
Yes, we do, Chuck.
Giving what? Look, I called Speaker Johnson last night and urged him to stay. I spoke to Leader McConnell right after the Zelensky meeting and urged him to stay. If it's an emergency, as so many Republicans have said on the border and many have said about Ukraine, you don't go home for 3 weeks. It'll be much harder to do in January. Everyone admits that than it is today.
Leader Schumer,
Yes.
if the House does not stay in session, if they leave on Thursday as they're expecting to, is Ukraine aid pretty much punted to
I did
2024
as well.
at that point?
Look, as I said, we're going to look for the best way forward to get this done, and we are going to keep trying.
Leader
Yes.
Schumer, the House tomorrow is expected to approve this resolution formalizing an impeachment inquiry. If they in fact send an impeachment, articles of impeachment to the Senate, will you just dismiss it? How will you entertain that in the Senate?
The bottom line is what the Republicans are doing
Nobody
in
ever
the
asked
House
me.
is just absurd. And I think the American people will see it as ridiculous and a big negative for the Republican
Parliamentarily,
Party.
you have to deal with
Yes,
that
go
somehow.
ahead.
Mr. Leader, do you regret the fact that the White House tied the security package?
You know,
to the
please.
package? Do you wish you were just-
Let's get real here.
That's a true
The
story.
Republicans have been tying border to Ukraine for a long time, no matter what the White House did. The White House just put together a bill, but they're not the ones. It's not the White House that's demanding border as part of Ukraine. It's the Republicans, plain and simple. So it's an absurd argument. Well, the White House started it. We are willing to give them an amendment on border, and we are willing to do Ukraine
You're not
without
in
border.
power,
They
you
haven't taken us up on
dipshit.
either offer. Thank you.
You're not in power. You'll give them a fucking amendment? Oh, fuck you, Chuck Schumer. I promised I wasn't going to get that angry this time. So here's Zelensky acting like he owns our capital, which he probably does, while we're still waiting on Joe. In his goddamn sweatshirt. Wear a fucking suit at least. You're gonna take my money, do it fancy. Seriously, fuck this guy. And if this one doesn't make your blood boil, nothing else will. Here's Joe just waiting to hand over more money. And then I think there's movement and we might actually have a conference, but somewhat, kind of, ish.
Thank you. Before the press. Before the press. Hey, whoa. Hush up a second, okay? Got one more thing to say. I've just signed another $200 million drawdown for the Department of Defense for Ukraine, and that'll be coming quickly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Another $200 million. And then another check.
Are you mad?
Well, that cat. Thank you.
So yeah, Biden just for the hell of it just handed him another $200 million. So, and we're still looking at an empty podium. We're now nearly an hour behind, which doesn't surprise anyone. I know. That's probably where I get my lateness from, is being former government. Yeah, fuck it. Let's watch this one more time. It's at least funny.
Thank you. As I told General Austin, I have come here for a re-up of cash. I brought the coke, I brought the hookers, I brought the kickbacks. Now, where is my money? I need it to buy another yacht. Fund the war to fight against democracy. Delete the yacht part. I have dirt on all Washington politicians, and I will release unless I get my money. Do you want your sons and daughters sent to the war?
You heard him. Meanwhile, this is what's going on our southern border. For all those that were wondering. So we just got a bunch of what look like I don't know. And the one news chick is talking now. So I assume that they should be pretty soon, hopefully. So this is what we're looking at our southern border. But it's not a crisis. It's just the Republicans trying to make up shit to stop from Ukraine. All right, there's Blinken, there's Lloyd Austin. So we should be getting closer, boys and girls. Shit. Decolonization. Here we go.
Your 2-minute warning.
Oh, 2-minute warning. Damn it. Shit. All right, so we have 2 minutes. I thought this was very nice. I know it's way behind, and I probably should have done it like 3 months ago when it actually happened, but just couldn't be bothered to get around to it. So, Vivek says, "Watch my channel." He didn't say subscribe and like, but he did say watch my channel. So, just saying. So now we're 2 minutes, as you just heard. So we're just waiting for the president, former vice president. Joseph Robinette Biden. And oh, that's just a reporter. Okay. I was like, what the hell? Are they saying that they They're not doing it? But that's just another reporter talking. Oh, I know. I know. I mean, you can have some if you need some. We'll send some your way. We're good people like that. Gemini, Biden doesn't look right. He hasn't looked right in a long damn time.
Distinguished guests, the President of the United States.
All right, y'all,
and
I'm
the
gonna let it
President
play.
Of Ukraine.
Please, have a seat. President Zelensky, it's an honor to welcome you back to the White House. When President Putin launched his brutal total invasion of Ukraine in February of 2022, and Russian tanks rolled over the border toward Kyiv, there were those who thought Ukraine wouldn't survive for a month. So no one should forget that for you to be here today, again today, nearly 2 years later, and for Ukraine to stand strong and free is an enormous victory already. Putin has failed in his effort to subjugate Ukraine. The brave people of Ukraine have defied Putin's will at every turn, backed by the strong and unwavering support of the United States and our allies and partners in more than 50 nations in Europe and the Indo-Pacific. And Ukraine will emerge from this war proud, free, and firmly rooted in the West unless we walk away. The American people can be and should be incredibly proud of the part they played in supporting Ukraine's success. We'll continue to supply Ukraine with critical weapons and equipment as long as we can, including $200 million I just approved today in a critical needed equipment, additional air defense interceptors, artillery, and ammunition. But without supplemental funding, we're rapidly coming to an end of our ability to help Ukraine respond to the urgent operational demands that it has. Putin is banking on the United States failing to deliver for Ukraine. We must prove him wrong. The United States and Congress must, as I asked last week, it's stunning that we've gotten to this point. You know, we need to fully appreciate how it's wrong, how this is being viewed around the world and being used by Russia. Russian loyalists in Moscow celebrated when Republicans voted to block Ukraine's aid last week. The host of a Kremlin-run show literally said, and I quote, "Well done, Republicans. That's good for us," end of quote. Let me say that again. This host of a Kremlin-run show said, "Well done, Republicans. That's good for us." That's a Russian speaking. If you're being celebrated by Russian propagandists, it might be time to rethink what you're doing. History will judge harshly those who turn their back on freedom's cause. Today, Ukraine's freedom is on the line, but if we don't stop Putin, it'll endanger the freedom of everyone, almost everywhere. Putin will keep going, and would-be aggressors everywhere will be emboldened to try to take what they can by force. Mr. President, I'll not walk away from Ukraine, and neither will the American people. A clear bipartisan majority of people across the United States and in Congress support your country. They understand, as I do, that Ukraine's success and its ability to deter aggression in the future are vital to security for the world at large. And I have repeatedly made clear from our first day in office, we also need Ukraine to make changes to fix the broken immigration system here. We also need Congress to make the changes to fix the broken immigration system here at home. My team is working with Senate Democrats and Republicans to try to find a bipartisan compromise, both in terms of changes in policy and provide the resources we need to secure the border. Compromise is how democracy works, and I'm ready and offered compromise already. Holding Ukraine funding hostage in the attempt to force through an extreme Republican partisan agenda on the border is not how it works. We need real solutions. I also asked Congress for funding for Israel to take on Hamas and confront multiple other threats backed by Iran in the wake of the October 7th assault. National Security Advisor Sullivan will travel to the region this week and meet with the Israeli War Cabinet, as I have met with, to emphasize our commitment to Israel, as well as the need to protect civilian life and ensure more humanitarian assistance flows and reaches into Gaza for Palestinian civilians. Secretary Austin will also travel to the region this week to step up the international efforts to protect the free flow of commerce through the Red Sea. The entire world is watching what we do. So let's show them who we are. America stands for freedom today, tomorrow, and always. America stands against tyranny and against oppression. And America stands with the people of Ukraine. Thank you again for being here today, Mr. President, and thank you for everything Ukraine is doing to hold the line for liberty in the world. The floor is yours, Mr. President. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, dear journalists. I'm glad to be here and personally thank you and tell you how Ukraine values what we've achieved together, defending life and freedom. In Ukraine, we are fighting for our country and freedom, and also in Europe, we say for our freedom and yours. And this motto resonates not only in our country, not only in our hearts, not only in Ukraine, but also in Poland and Baltic states, Moldova and others. When freedom is strong in one country, it is strong everywhere. When it burns in one soul, it presents its merits to others. Ukrainians have twice led revolutions this century, defending freedom. For nearly 2 years, we have been in a full-scale war, the biggest since World War II, fighting for freedom. We stand firm, no matter what Putin tries. He hasn't won any victories. Thanks to Ukraine's success in defense, other European nations are safe from the Russian aggression, unlike in the past. Ukraine can now tackle the Russian dictatorship, so our children and other nations won't have to shed their blood and sacrifice lives defending against Russian aggression. We've already made significant progress. We've shown that our courage and partnership are stronger than any Russian hostility. And we've freed 50% of the territories Russia occupied after February 24th. And we won the Black Sea and are reviving our economy. Thanks to maritime exports, Ukraine's 5% economic growth this year proves our effective partnership. And we've shown no Russian missiles can overdo the powerful American Patriot systems. Thank you very much. And even during war, we are reforming our country and strengthening our institutions. Today, President Biden and I discussed how to increase our strength for next year. First, air defense and destroying Russian logistics on Ukraine's land. Mr. President, thank you very much for your supporting us. And in these areas, like our victory in the Black Sea, we aim to win the air battle, crushing Russian air dominance. This will intensify our ground advantages in 2024 with our control of the skies. Who controls the skies controls the war's duration. And today I would like to thank, of course, for yet another significant defense package with our defenders value very much. Second, yesterday I met with American defense company leaders. They advised us on how to make our defense industries work faster and more effectively. Thank you, President Biden, for this important initiative we started with you. Together, Ukraine and America can strengthen democracy's arsenal. And this is vital for other free nations and the US as it involves your companies, technologies, and technology advancement and job creation. And it is important to know that 2/3 of American support for Ukraine remains and works in the United States. Third, I informed Mr. President that Ukraine has fulfilled all the recommendations of the European Commission regarding the preparation for a decision to start negotiations on Ukraine's accession to the EU. And we constantly communicate with European leaders about our joint steps, sanctions, and political efforts to pressure Russia. American leadership is crucial, is keeping this unity together, a unity that serves the entire free world. And I thank America for new sanctions. And today we discussed Putin's further isolation and making him pay for his aggression. It's very important that by the end of this year, we can send very strong signal of our unity to the aggressor and the unity of Ukraine, America, Europe, the entire free world. Everything we talked about today will help us in the year 2024. Today's discussions in the White House and in Congress across both parties and both chambers with a speaker were very productive, and I thank you for the bipartisan support. As we approach Christmas, on behalf of all our Ukrainian families separated by war and all sons and daughters on the front, Ukraine's greatest wish is to near this war's victorious end. No one but Putin wants a prolonged war. We dream of a Christmas in a peacetime, of course, and we are working to turn our battlefield success into peace. And we are heading there together with you. And thanks, of course, to your support. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you, America. Slava Ukraine.
Thank you. Look, we're going to alternate asking questions. We're going to ask a total of each ask 2 questions. I will ask the first question. I will recognize the first question asker. I'll ask a question to y'all too. But Danny Kemp.
Thank you, Mr. President. For President Biden, Ukraine's counteroffensive has stalled in recent months. Congress is blocking aid, and Vladimir Putin appears ready to just wait things out. So what is the strategy for the US and Ukraine next year to try and turn this around? And if that fails, at what point do you say to Ukraine, as a friend, that it is perhaps time to start looking at peace talks? And for President Zelensky, welcome back to Washington. Can I ask you, did you hear what you wanted to hear from Congress and from President Biden? Or are you indeed more worried than when you got here? Thank you very much.
Well, let me answer the question first. Let's put this in perspective. Remember how far Ukraine has come. Russia's failed thus far in trying to erase Ukraine from the map and subsume it into Russia. Ukraine has taken back more than 50% of its territory seized since February of 22, and it's pushed back the Russian Navy so Ukraine can export grain and steel to the world through the Black Sea. And thanks to the incredible courage of the Ukrainian people and the bipartisan support from our Congress, but it's not just American support. There are more than 50 countries helping Ukraine with military, economic, and humanitarian assistance. 50. The burden sharing, the U.S. has put up $75 billion, and our allies and partners have put up $100 billion. And more than 90% of our security assistance to Ukraine is being spent in the United States to provide weapons for Ukraine and replenish our stockpiles and build our industrial base. We need to ensure Putin continues to fail in Ukraine and Ukraine to succeed. And the best way for that to do that is to pass the supplemental.
Yeah, can I answer in Ukrainian, please? Дуже дякую.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to add to the words of Mr. President Biden
Які були успіхи, я вважаю,
about successes. I think that these were not easy successes. Nonetheless, they were quite serious. They were serious steps forward. Indeed, we gained victory on the sea. We destroyed ships of the Russian Federation. We threw the remnants of their fleet to Russian territorial waters. Yeah, they have something in the Black Sea, in the vicinity of our temporarily occupied Crimea, but we are going to proceed this activity. Our guys destroyed 20,000 of Wagner mercenaries. These are serious terrorists who were massing everywhere on African continent, in Syria, in Ukraine. There were a lot of mass. And nucleus of this terroristic organization is not existing anymore. Yes, we had a lot of problems, but nonetheless we were able to do this. Moreover, Russia were not able to seize any part of our territory, any village, any town. I'm not talking about large cities. And we are going to proceed with this. It is good without saying that we have objective, we have clear plan, but if you allow me, I am not able to tell you in public on the details of 2024 operations. If I heard what I want, I heard a lot. Surely I told what I wanted to. I feel and experience the support from President Biden administration, from senators, and we'll be talking with the speaker. I got this signal. They were more than positive, but we know that we have to separate words and particular result. Therefore, we will count on particular result. Thank you.
Your turn to ask a question.
Yeah, sorry.
Recognize someone.
Телеканал Інтер, будь ласка.
Inter, please.
Thank you for taking my question. Dmitry Anopchenko, Ukrainian television news correspondent. Many Republican voices doubt the ability of Ukraine to win the war. Center Ones recently even told that Ukraine need to cede some territories to stop fighting. Pане Володимире, to be very honest, have you even considered such a step to cede the territories to stop fighting? And Mr. Biden, could you please clarify the policy and of your administration, the strategy of your administration on Ukraine? Is it about helping the country to defend itself or to win the war? Because it's obviously such a difference.
I will begin. Okay. Ваше запитання до мене, чи готові ми віддати території, я так розумію?
Your question is, if we are ready to give up our territories?
Слухайте, питання не тільки в наших словах чи в думках. Питання в тому, на що ми готові, на що ні. Як може Україна просто віддати свої території? Тобто це абсолютно божевілля. Якщо чесно, дуже часто згадуємо Бога, це точно не по-християнськи. Там живуть наші люди, там живуть сім'ї, там діти. Все це частина суспільства українського, але ми говоримо про живих людей, над ними знущаються, їх гвалтують, їх вбивали. Ми це прекрасно знаємо, тим голосам, які пропонують віддати наші території, як віддати своїх людей. Питання ж не тільки в землі, питання в живих людях, в їх судьбах, в історіях їх. Питання в цих сім'ях і в дітях. Віддати територію, віддати дітей. Виникають ті голоси. Я не знаю, хто про це говорить. У мене до них одне питання, чи готові вони віддати своїх дітей в руки терористам? Думаю, що ні.
We want to see Ukraine win the war. And as I've said before, winning means Ukraine is a sovereign, independent nation and that can afford to defend itself today and deter further aggression. That's our objective. Trevor, Reuters.
Thank you, sir. First, a question for both of you. Given the Republican skepticism of the Ukraine effort, Do you worry that a second term for President Trump would be the end of an independent Ukraine? That's for both of you. And then for you, President Biden, just an update, if you could, on the situation in Gaza, on the reports that Israel has begun flooding Hamas tunnels, and just the offensive in southern Gaza generally. How long do you think that operation should last? Thank you.
First of all, with regard to political support for Ukraine, there is a strong bipartisan political support for Ukraine. Small number of Republicans who don't want to support Ukraine, but they don't speak for the majority of even the Republicans, in my view. We're in negotiations to get funding we need, not to promise, not making promises, but hopeful we can get there. I think we can. You're right. The world's watching what we do. Would you send a horrible message to an aggressor and allies if we walked away at this time? And it would hurt our national security. Do you want me to answer the other question as well? With regard to, say it again?
Sorry, so the question was just if you could talk a little bit about the Gaza operation, Israel flooding Hamas tunnels, and if you've had conversations with Bibi Netanyahu about how long that operation should last.
Well, I have had conversations with Bibi Netanyahu, and I want to make sure that we don't forget what we're doing here. We have to support Israel because they're an independent nation that's being, I mean, the brutality, the inhumanity, the way in which Hamas treated the Israelis, and I mean, raping and burning and beheading. I mean, it's just beyond comparison, beyond comparison. And to anything else that I've seen since I've been here, and I've been around for a long time. But I think that we have made it clear to the Israelis, and they're aware that the safety of innocent Palestinians is still of great concern. And so the actions they're taking must be consistent with attempting to do everything possible to prevent innocent Palestinian civilians from being hurt, murdered, killed, lost, etc. And look, it doesn't lessen the responsibility going after Hamas to innocent Palestinians and Hamas. Look, we have a responsibility to protect citizens and ensure they have access to humanitarian assistance. That's why I've worked so hard with our Arab friends as well as the Israelis to get humanitarian assistance into Israel, literally getting up to 140 trucks loaded with gear, loaded with food, loaded with everything that is needed by the Palestinians, including fuel. So, you know, Israel has stated its intent to fulfill these responsibilities. It's very difficult. With regard to the flooding of the tunnels, there is assertions being made that there's quite sure there are no hostages in any of these tunnels, but I don't know that for a fact. I do know that, though, every civilian death is an absolute tragedy, and Israel stated its intent, as I said, to match its words with its intent with actions. That's what I was talking about today. Question 3.
Fuck did he just say?
I guess I asked that. No, I just asked. It's your turn. Your turn.
Якщо відповідаючи на ваше запитання,
So, addressing your question very quickly, I've been talking a lot with representatives of both parties. Both Democrats and Republicans proved full-fledged support, and we will see, but before this, we've always been trusting in support of our strategic partner, the United States, and we will consider that it will continue in this way, and Ukraine will not remain alone against such a critical terrorist as the Russian Federation.
Укрінформ. Так, будь ласка.
Thank you so much. My name is Yaroslav Dovopol, Ukrinform News Agency, Ukraine. Next summer, the United States will host an anniversary NATO summit in Washington, D.C., which raises a lot of hope, especially for Ukraine. President Zelensky, what does the Ukrainian side expect from this summit? And do you hope to hear direct invitation for Ukraine to join the alliance? And President Biden, under what conditions is the United States ready to support the initiative of inviting Ukraine to be member of NATO? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. I will answer very quickly on this very complicated question. We are not allies till now. We are not we are allies, but we are not members of NATO. So that's why I think I will pass this question to our big friend, President Biden.
Well, look, I'm very proud that how strong and unified NATO is.
Did he mean big guy, friend?
And now it's even larger. Putin wanted the federalization of NATO when I met with him in Geneva right after I was elected. And he's gotten the NATOization of Finland instead. And NATO will be in Ukraine's future, no question about that. But as we said in Vilnius, Ukraine will become a member of NATO when all allies agree
10% for the big guy.
conditions are met. Right now, we have to make sure they win the war. And, we launched a joint declaration of support alongside President Zelensky and the G7 leaders in Vilnius, outlining a long-term commitment to supporting Ukraine's defense needs. We also hosted a defense industry conference last week here in DC to get that critical work done. So it's a step at a time. Thank you all very, very much.
This concludes thank you, everybody. Thank you, everyone. This concludes the press conference. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, everybody.
Defense industry.
Distinguished guests, please remain in your seats while the principals depart.
Defense industry complex. So the dick. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's your former Vice President Joseph Robinette Biden and Vladimir Zelensky, who is now using Joe as a pay pig. I don't even know what to say. Like, I don't even have anything quippy or great or fascinating or, I mean, they're sending more money to Ukraine. Who the hell is shocked? I don't know, guys. We're so fucked. It's not even funny anymore. But yeah, so that is the big Zelensky meeting. You heard he's met with defense contractors. Surprise, surprise. He got an invitation to meet with both the House and the Senate today. He met with former Vice President Joseph Robinette Biden, and yeah, we're giving more money to Ukraine. Probably some more money to Israel, and anybody who thinks that Joe Biden's in control of this country does not have a critical thought left in their head because, again, mumbles, half fallen asleep. I mean, it was par for the course for Joe. But with that being said, I've already cut into 30 minutes of Ozzy's show. I'm gonna redirect everybody. I think he's doing a Rumble exclusive. But that wasn't my fault. That was Joe's fault. But I'm gonna redirect you guys over there. Enjoy Ozzy's show, and we hopefully have Falcon Heavy tonight at around 8 o'clock. I'll go live. Might be a couple minutes late, but I'll try and get there as soon as I can. And then the normal news show with Digger 420 on William Cooper. And then hopefully we get a Starlink launch after. It's the same lineup as last night, but hopefully it actually happens this time. So that's going to be it for me for now. I'll catch you guys all later. Thanks for stopping by. Please hit that like on the way out. Have a good night, everybody.